Hello everybody and welcome to the Overwatch League. My name is Brennan Hook. I'm joined by the ever-lovable Joshua Sideshow Wilkinson. I feel like I'm in almost an ethereal state, Josh. Would that be the word to describe it? Yeah, it's almost...
Possibly. I don't know how you're feeling.
I'm feeling almost enlightened but slightly hazy because it's late at night and I've just drank a lot of coffee very quickly. So I'm ready now for some quality Overwatch.
I think we've got some quality Overwatch as well. I don't want to promise too much too quickly, but I've been loving the games so far this week. It seems like this week's meta game has played out so that a lot of different compositions are viable, and team styles are broadly, and the map types themselves, are broadly what dictates what people are playing. Plus, we've got to see a bunch of new teams being played in the Asian region, and the Vancouver Titans over in North America as well. So, yeah, it's been pretty fun. Load up on coffee and let's get going.
It's been interesting, and of course these teams are playing for the qualification points for our May tournament. If you don't know what that is, well, I don't blame you because we haven't talked about it that much, but hopefully I'm talking about it now so you now know about it. It's actually happening in 2 weeks' time, so we've got one more week of qualifiers after this one. All of the wins, they all go towards the overall players, of course, which are hopefully going to be taking place at the end of the year. But for the time being, we've got this wonderful little tournament set up. And as you can see from our standings, Shanghai Dragons, which we would all assume to be our #1 team, currently 0-1 in our standings after their loss to Seoul the other night. So that's interesting, Josh, because it means that this match coming up has a lot more stakes at play now.
It definitely does. The Shanghai Dragons are normally the team that you would say are the best in the Asian region, but they're coming off an upset loss against the Seoul Dynasty, who, you know, the meta fit them. It was double shield, and they managed to make a lot of successful plays, and they were also able to get some dive as well with some Winston and some Tracer. So the Dragons are kind of rebounding. I wouldn't say that it was a crushing loss by any means, but they're looking to come away with a very dominant win this time.
Well, let's take a look at the Hangzhou Spark starting lineup then. And nothing out of the ordinary, as you can see, running a lot of the same players that they normally do. And we're going to see what kind of results we can expect out of them as they go up against one of the better teams in the Asian region.
I am quite interested about the Hangzhou Spark, though, because we are seeing some teams opt for just strict double shield, and some teams opt for Sombra Tracer dive, and then there was Paris Eternal, who ran an Echo Tracer dive, and Adora played a lot of Echo last week. That's the last time that we saw the Hangzhou Spark play, when they 3-0'd the Seoul Dynasty, and that looked pretty good for them. So I'm wondering whether we're going to see that again tonight.
I have an inkling that we may not, just on the basis that everyone else in Asia is not running Echo, with the exception of Chengdu.
Well, Chengdu do their Chengdu things, don't they?
Yeah, sure. But it feels like the Asia meta thus far has kind of developed where it's a lot of Trace, a lot of Sombra, a lot of double shield as well on top of that. But on the other side of things, we've got the Shanghai Dragons, a team that we talked about quite a bit. So much talent on this roster. Didn't get the win the other day, but they're going to be looking for a win today against the Hangzhou Spark to hopefully make it 1-1 in the overall qualification points for the May tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Dragons will have 4 matches, as will all of the Asian teams, in order to qualify for this May tournament. And the Dragons would be your early favorites to be able to take it. Because even though they lost 2-3 to the Seoul Dynasty yesterday, that was in a very specific meta, I feel, that vastly favors the Seoul Dynasty, this double shield composition. Whereas the Dragons have shown time and time again, with their 9-2 match record, that they can just beast on every other team in the Asian division on a range of different metas. If they're playing dive, if they're playing Pharah stuff, if they're playing some double shield, if they're playing rush comps with the Reinhardt and the Mayhem McCree. This is just a really well-oiled team. So it is a little surprising to see them not at the top of our qualifiers, but I'm thinking that they're going to be a sure shot to be able to go deep.
Absolutely, and we're going to be taking a look at our map pool. First map being played, of course, Nepal, followed by a couple of maps known as Gibraltar. Where is Gibraltar, Josh, of course, in the geography of the world?
I mean, Gibraltar is in Gibraltar. Gibraltar's its own thing.
It's true.
Just the Strait of Gibraltar.
Just testing you. Yeah, you passed.
Between Spain and Africa.
Well done. Yep. Correct. We're not going there just yet, though. We're going to be in Nepal, which is actually, Josh, where?
Nepal again is its own place. It's Nepal. It's not a city.
It's a landlocked country between what countries?
It is. Between what countries?
Yeah.
Honestly, now you're testing me. I mean, is it between like China and India?
I think so.
I think
I
I don't know whether
myself.
it borders. I think it borders some other stuff as well.
I think it does. Yeah, it's not just 2 countries. It might be more.
Like, does it border Myanmar as well? I don't
Possibly.
know. I'm
Maybe,
struggling. You've got me in a difficult situation here.
Anyway.
I know Overwatch, Brent.
Yeah.
I don't know geography.
Let's talk some Overwatch then, because the game is starting. The Hangzhou Spark versus the Shanghai Dragons. Both teams rolling out speedily, and we've got 2 different compositions straight off the bat. The Shanghai Dragons opting for a nice little double shield action. The Hangzhou Spark going for that dive composition with a Sombra Tracer. Already very, very interesting. Lip going to be hunting for a shot or 2, trying to find a couple of heads off on the flank. No one really wants to clash just yet, but as the point begins to unlock, Hangzhou going to be pressing that go button. The hack on the back line onto Lip as they try to start this dive attempt, but the peel is there from Shanghai. Lip stays alive at IDK, put up a bit more than he could chew. He tried to go for that one, ended up paying of his life. Still Hangzhou in this for the time being, but Shanghai looking very strong.
Shanghai absolutely read what Hangzhou were going for there, and I want to say it's an obvious dive target to go for the McCree. He is the most vulnerable person on the Shanghai Dragons team because he plays in the front line and he's only got the 200 health, but odd hack target. If you are going to go for a hack and a dive onto somebody, then Lijigon or Izzyaki or, you know, maybe even Fleta, but hacking the McCree doesn't really do that much, so I'd like to see Godsby maybe diversify a little bit.
Lijigon almost paying with his life, but luckily the heals were there, and Shanghai holds strong. The door is now.
Lijigon is crazy. I love watching him, but he is crazy. Just in the front line constantly.
He plays a ridiculous style. It's like he has no S key, but here we have it. IDK goes down once more to Fleta. And that was a nice little halt from Stan 1 to set that one up. As you can see, the coalescence now from Bebe going off. Adora, I believe, got flashbanged there off to the sidelines, taken out, but not before Gushue tries to even it up. But despite the fact that Hangzhou are getting a pick here and there, not quite enough. As you can see, the Shanghai Dragons holding strong, only losing Lip. And just like that, Gushue, I was like, okay, he's just going to reset that. But he knows the timings, he knows the cooldowns, and he just somehow escapes out.
Yeah, I will say, just going back to the fundamentals of the Hangzhou Spark's composition, I'm really surprised that Godsby is on the Sombra. The Tracer player is required to be more mechanically gifted, and in my head, you should have Godsby on that every day of the week. Leave Adora to try and set up the hacks and roam around. This way that they've got it kind of with Adora on the Tracer, I just don't think they have enough firepower. I'm not a big fan of the Adora Tracer.
And you'll see another initiation, and that's going to be the Blizzard 8 up by Rhea. Nice little start for Hangzhou if they want to try and turn this. That was what they needed. Removing it from the equation. As you can see, the Supercharger goes down but instantly taken out almost as fast as it is plopped down. EMP comes out, but Lee Jae-gong was there, ready and waiting with the sound barrier, and lets it go. Lip with 3 kills, 4 kills. He was just making quick work of anyone who stood in the back line. That's going to be round number 1. Going to the Shanghai Dragons, 100-0.
Well, Bren, we may be in for a very speedy night, because the Shanghai Dragons have a history of just rolling and smoking the Hangzhou Spark this season, and honestly most of the teams in the Asian region. But for some reason, they've just never been able to quite get it going, Hangzhou. And I didn't even really see a glimmer of success there in that first round. It was a 100-0 complete shutout. I feel like the composition that they're coming into isn't really the strongest for their team. It's a very strong composition, don't get me wrong. It's meta right now, it's brilliant. Gushue's on the Winston, but just the DPS don't seem as comfortable. They're not on power rolls for themselves. And when you're going up against the firepower of Shanghai and how well coordinated they are, you need to be on comfort rolls. Yeah,
when you're on Village now and you're going to be running the same dive composition against Shanghai's double shield, that's rough because you've got to try and get an early pick. You can see Hangzhou instantly trying to go for it. Fleta used his Ice Wall early as a defensive measure, just to sort of mitigate a lot of the damage. Adora's going to be hunting for a kill into the backline, but Gushue goes down. The aggression was there from Shanghai. The Holt damage being put in from Void's Hyperspheres was more than enough alongside the accretion. Because they found all of those pickoffs, Shanghai Dragons are going to gain control of the point, and they can just set up now with this May Symmetra. It looks like they're going to be opting for the high ground, which I don't disagree with in the slightest, but it's so hard to just dethrone this comp when it gains positioning on Village.
It is, yeah, but I will say the Symmetra is slightly easier to dive than a McCree. No flashbang, not really any burst damage potential. Godsby and Adora don't have to be that worried. Well, the teleporter's one thing, right? But if they don't have a teleporter active, or if it's not in a great position, then yeah, the sim dies pretty easily to this full dive comp. But Guangzhou is just getting shredded. And Godspeed's not there with any hack to set up the fight, and Adora's not in position with Guangzhou. These dives are just not coordinated very well for Hangzhou. And Guangzhou, even though we know he's an amazing Winston, ends up looking the worse for it.
Bless his soul. He's really trying, but it's not enough. It's not enough in this scenario. You've got to coordinate with your team if you're going to be playing the dive composition.
And these ults, they're taking a long time to build. Godspeed only on 57%.
That EMP is the one that everyone's got their eyes on. It's the game changer. It's the win condition for Hangzhou Spark, and they are barely anywhere when it comes to building it up. And now Hangzhou are going to be going for another attempt here. You can see Godspeed searching for the hacks, but he can't find it. The targets are getting battered away before he can even touch any of them. Guangzhou going to see if he can get a kill with his Primal Rage. Of course, that's what he's known for. Lip goes down. That's a great opening, and Hangzhou Spark may have been set up for something here. A little bit of gold that they've just found there into the river, and they're able to hopefully cap up this point. Only a couple of players remaining. Indeed they do. They clear them off, so Hangzhou Spark will be winning a team fight, which is good for them now as well, because they didn't have to use really many ultimates at all to try and get it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, they used the Primal Rage and they used the Coalescence, but Coalescence charges up very quickly, and the Primal you can throw out there. The EMP they didn't use, and they could try and set up for a big EMP now in this fight in order to continue this ult cycle so that they have the rest of their ults built up by the time Shanghai Dragons come back in. They see the teleporter coming up top, and it's on Godspeed. That's a bit of a bait, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to force positioning out of Godspeed.
Yeah, the TP goes down, but they actually took it and immediately disengaged from the high ground. Now the self-destruct is going to come out from Hangzhou, but here comes the big old wall. EMP straight into the close quarters there. The sound barrier from Li Jaegong didn't connect onto Fleder, so he goes down. The EMP helping with that one. A great setup, a great start for Hangzhou. If they can convert this into a couple more kills, they could be in a very solid position here. The Coalescence from Izayaki is going to be keeping his team alive, but Guangzhou falling is not good at all. If you are a Hangzhou Spark fan, they just need to try and collapse onto the point, but stand one with the Halt is going to yoink IDK back. And 85% and counting now for Shanghai Dragons with control of the point. It's looking like a very, very dark time indeed for the Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah, they have mobile characters, so they're going to be able to get onto this point, and Primal Rage is going to be active for Guangzhou, and he can make magic happen, but there's going to be a blizzard. So Fleder just lays it down at 99%.
No one can touch. They just wall it off. No one can touch it all.
Nobody even touches.
Oh.
Wow.
Well,
I mean, that's absolute domination there coming out from Shanghai. The Hangzhou Spark had, what, like one fight where they looked like they were even close to being in it. I want to see some broad-scale swaps coming out from Hangzhou here, because this strategy, it didn't work in the slightest. I don't think it's the right strategy for the map, but I also am now just worried about their general coordination, because that didn't look too good.
Now, I will say the dive often takes a little bit more coordination. But in the meantime, just before we run to a break, I want everybody to tweet me your quarantine clothing, because I'm at work right now and I'm going to be wearing some socks and slides. So I've got that going on in my life right now. What have you guys got going on? You make sure you send me as many messages as humanly possible, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. And by Zip Chair Game, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League. Of course, we just witnessed Map 1 between the Shanghai Dragons and the Hangzhou Spark. It's kicked off. It's already happened. You may have missed it. It was pretty quick. Yeah, it was actually pretty fast. We're going to be heading over to a different map, though. It's going to be Gibraltar, which we have concluded exists in the strait between Spain and Africa, I believe. Does
Sure.
it?
I mean, if that's what you want to believe,
I don't think it
that's
does,
fine.
right?
I mean, this is a watch point that looks like it's on like a little island off the coast or something. I don't know, Brent. I don't know.
But Gibraltar as the kind of city-state that exists in the geographic real world.
Okay.
I've
What's
got
your question?
Sorry, I've got to look it up. I'm just trying to picture where it is. Because
it's the south of Spain.
It's the south of
isn't it?
Spain. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. But
yeah, but there's also the famous Strait of Gibraltar is the connection
I've got to
between
look it up. Sorry.
the Mediterranean
second.
and the Atlantic.
I'm pulling it up.
I mean, I don't know why I'm teaching you things here.
I'm pulling up maps.
Okay, good for you. I'm going to discuss with the people
you're
at
right.
home.
You're right.
Yeah, I know I'm right. I know it's part of Europe. The Watchpoint Gibraltar itself as a map is very divey. It's very much conducive to people playing the Sombra Tracer dive or even the Tracer Echo dive. It's not really a map where we see too much double shield, maybe up until the final segment, that final straight area.
Now,
But I haven't been impressed with what Hangzhou are doing at all. And I'm concerned for them, Brent, because their success last week was off the back of Adora being able to play the Echo to a fairly reasonable degree, actually. I would say that he outplayed Prophet in that series. And then you have Godsby on the powerful, Tracer or Sombra role alongside it. But here we saw Godsby get basically no hacks in the first round. Shanghai was so good at being able to deny him. And then Adora got nothing done on the Tracer. So I want to see a swap up. I don't want to see them just try and mirror this Sombra Tracer comp against Shanghai, because I feel like they're just inevitably going to get crushed.
I feel like if they try to play Echo, though, there's a reason we're not seeing Echo being played in these competitions.
Well, yeah, because it gets hard countered by McCree.
By McCree, right? Yeah.
But Paris Eternal had great success playing it earlier on today. And I think that on maps like Gibraltar, running McCree is very difficult. Like, actually being able to run McCree can be very hard on attack in particular, to be able to get that McCree into good positions up until you get to point C. So I do think there's some opening if they've practiced it. If they haven't practiced it, then I don't know, just keep running Sombra Tracer and keep running at Shanghai, I guess.
It's going to be, I believe, yep, so it's going to be the Shanghai Dragons on attack first. So we're going to see what they've got up their sleeves, per se. Now, we can discuss whether it's possible for a team to actually have sleeves in the first place. I mean, when we make those kind of claims, we're assuming that the Shanghai Dragons would be a person, an entity, if you will, that has arms.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I have totally zoned out what you're saying because it's utter nonsense as usual. And my eyes have glanced at the top of the screen where we actually see both teams running the Echo. I do have this feeling that it should be really good on Gibraltar. It's kind of, it's almost the stereotypical Genji map. And I feel like the Echo is very good at being able to kind of maneuver from high ground to low ground in a similar kind of divey way. And Hangzhou are going to start with the same comp that they 3-0'd the Seoul Dynasty with last week. It's a Sombra and the Echo. So I like this swap from Hangzhou. Even if it doesn't work in the end, I like that they're trying something different.
Okay, but look at Shanghai here. Lip is teasing us with a bit of Torbjorn gameplay, and I like the Torb against Echo. I like it a lot because the turret forces away the attention of your Echo player a little bit. Provides a bit of anti-dive against the Sombra as well. The turret's going to be tracking her down as she tries to build up the charge. Godsby's going to have a hard time of it, and of course, very hard target to dive. As you can see, he's already popped the overload here. So he gains a bit of extra health.
Sure.
Very difficult to try and take down this composition,
Great
but that's a
Bionade, though.
big Bionade from Bebe. Both Lip and Fleder have to play passive. In fact, Fleder ended up using his Ice Wall defensively just so they wouldn't get dived on. See a lot of attempts by Shanghai to try and get some stuff done here, but another great Bionade from Bebe. Once more, Lip is anti-naded and no one can heal him. He gets taken out. Wonderful start from Hangzhou so far. We'll see if they can convert this into anything else now, as the Shanghai Dragons are being pressured. Already falling down. Quite a low amount of HP, having to back off around the corner. Now IDK got the Resurrect off onto Bebe, which means they're not going to be losing their Ana player. And they can continue to hold
That's
here.
huge. The res is absolutely huge, because if Bebe had been coming off the respawn, he would have been miles out of position. So even though they only saved like 1 or 2 seconds to actually, you know, resurrect him up, the positional advantage is still there for the Hangzhou Spark, and they're getting these ults up. Here's Adora looking to copy somebody.
Yeah, he's got it. He's got it ready and waiting. And he's going to be hunting for a target, but who do you choose in this scenario? That is the question. Blizzard gets unleashed pretty early defensively here by Fleder. As you can see, Gushui has
He goes for the Mei.
He goes for the Mei of all targets here, but okay, Ice Wall used off. He's got to start to hit some icicles right now. He's got to hit them right now. Indeed, he does. So he's got the Blizzard ready and waiting. Only a couple of seconds left, but lays it down. Blizzard's going to be active. Duplicate's faded, but of course the Blizzard is going to remain for a short while, but no one actually gets frozen up. Shanghai's still in the fight, and Gushui using that Primal Rage gets wasted a little bit. TMP now going to be utilized by Hangzhou. IDK going for one of the ballsiest resurrects I've seen in quite some time. Gushui back in the fight now, so Hangzhou Spark taking a 6v6. Lip, a bit of a fadeaway post bomb. Puts in enough damage, takes out the shield, and Void's going to be cleaning up Gushui, but still anyone's fight. Hangzhou have to contest this point right now. They cannot allow them to get any more capture point here, but Bebe frozen up, off onto the side. Fleder takes him out. The Hawking just stuck in the mud, if you will. And that's going to be easily another cap up here for Shanghai as they clean up 1 or 2 players who are left remaining onto the point. Void is, okay, he's in a precarious position, but his team are there to assist him now. And IDK might be the one who's in a precarious position on the high ground. Being chased down, yoinked together.
Halt.
Wonderful halt by Stand 1.
A huge halt just to suck in both of those supports that were trying to escape from the Hangzhou Spark and continue this momentum. But you got to say, Hangzhou were fairly good there. They ticked off 2.5 minutes from the time bank, and if they can win a fight here, they'll be taking control of the dropship and be in a fairly good position to continue to defend. The issue is defending here, but they're going to get close to the Echo ult and the Sombra ult. Neither of them were really effective last time. I think they got the execution was pretty bad, but as they come up to them here, they can send in a Nano Boost and Winston and then follow both of those ults. Should be pretty good.
He gets
Not if Adora dies.
Oh my goodness, the Hulk came through and they just collapsed onto him. He got taken out almost immediately. Gushui followed as well, and IDK, despite the fact that he's got that Resurrect, the Duplicate was forced out onto Adora. He has to go up to the Tracer, but he's probably going to be instantly falling here. He's only got 150 HP, so he gets frozen up. And now he's taken out of his duplication form. We're going to see Shanghai just rolling this forward. They've only just started using their supercharger, so they've got that damage boost to work with. Bebe has to use his own Bionade defensively here. Getting beaten down, harassed into the corner. Gushui trying to salvage whatever he can out of the situation. The stick from the side. Gushui just intercepted it. Get down, Mr. President, but now he's chunked down to absolutely no HP whatsoever. How is he going to contest back into this fight? Lip is tearing through the opposition. Already 2 kills for him, and Shanghai are on cloud 9 right now. Not necessarily the team, not necessarily the actual sense that they
physical place,
walked off, you know. Yeah, I mean, is it a physical place? It's not really.
No.
It's a saying, right? It's, you know, when you're in a good place, you know. I guess when you're in a happy place, I don't know.
Yeah.
What is the
happy
definition
place.
of cloud 9?
I'm not gonna go there. All right. The Hangzhou Spark, I think, are just misplaying their ultimates. I mean, and also just their initiation to lose Adora really early on. Godspeed playing with fire a little bit, but as soon as they get a good fight win here and reset Shanghai, I think they'll be in a decent position because they've done well at taking down the time bank a little bit. But still, with 3 minutes on the clock, Shanghai are kind of rolling forwards, and I love the way that they're playing. Still playing aggressive, getting in their face, forcing mistakes out of Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah, they switched over to this dive comp. You can see the duplication being used as Adora's going to be moving over to the D.Va, so a lot of sustenance on this point. 2 D.Vas, a bit of a cursed image that we see right now on our screens, but lo and behold, builds up the self-destruct, but Shanghai Dragons just move out the way of it. Adora gets demeched, and that's going to be forcing him out of the duplication, so he's back in his normal Echo form. MP's going to be committed now from Godspeed, but Shanghai Dragons bounce back immediately with their own sound barrier, so Lee Jae-gong keeping his team in the fight. Fleta using his Blizzard enough to force the positioning of Hangzhou Spark away for a short amount of time. Guangzhou going to get rezzed up, so he's back in the fight. It's a scrappy, chaotic mess.
That's a nice pick from Adora, though. That's a really good pick to take out the Tracer, because now his supports don't have to really be worried, and they can just focus on the front line and allow Guangzhou to make all of this space. This looks like a potential stabilization for Hangzhou. Oh, but Li Jigon has just been so on point at dealing with this Sombra. Gets the kill now, and his sound barriers have answered the EMPs every time. Godspeed must be so frustrated.
Hey, I was about to agree with you. I mean, it just looked like a one fight for Hangzhou there. It looked like they stabilized, but the Shanghai Dragons are so good at spotting the key moments of weaknesses in these team fights, and they've rolled it forward off the back of that one singular pickoff. It looked like the Hangzhou Spark were able to defend that one. I was looking at the coalescence being used by Izayaki. I thought, well, that seems like a bit of a waste. You're already a man down, but they managed to make it work in the end. They find the openings off the back of it, and Hangzhou Spark unable to stabilize off the end of it. And a minute 51 on Gibraltar. That is a lot of time to get... I mean, look at that. Capturing all the way to the end of this map.
Yeah, that's a really powerful time. And I think the biggest issue for the Hangzhou Spark is that they didn't win a fight in Point B. If they were able to come out and utilize their EMP and their Echo ult to be able to really cement their position within the hangar, then Shanghai's composition is pretty rough to push back in with the Mei and a Tracer on the low ground against such a mobile dive kind of style of defense. But that never happened. Hangzhou really dropped the most important team fights on defense. And so that 1 minute 51 time bank is looking stellar for Shanghai. That's going to be so difficult to replicate. Even if you roll all the way through, just clearing players off the cart, you don't get a much better time than that.
Yep. That's tough. I've received a lot of messages from people saying that they're disgusted that I'm wearing shoes indoors. These are my indoor slides. I only wear them indoors. Please do not harass me online for my footwear choice. It's comfortable, and it doesn't get my socks dirty from walking around in the kitchen. So there you go.
Why is your kitchen floor dirty?
Because I live with 5 men. Josh, like, and a lot of them, you know. I would actually say for a house of 6 guys, we are actually very clean, generally. You would expect it to be a little bit more filthy in the kitchen, but it's not. It's generally pretty well put together, but you never know. Sometimes this is just a coffee stand on the floor. So
yeah, that's the name of one of my favorite movies, actually.
6 guys in a filthy kitchen.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Well, here we have it. The Hangzhou Spark are pushing through the car wash section, if you want to call it that. Shanghai Dragons holding on. This is a difficult comp to try and dethrone, if you will. Dethorn, however you want to use the English language to describe the situation. Because the Shanghai Dragons are working with double shields. Big Bionade from Bebe, though, is going to be connecting onto 3 people. Shanghai forced to play a bit more passive.
That's really nice. I like the Shanghai Dragons composition, though. They know that it's going to be the dive counter, so they've got Lip on the Torbjorn. And Torb is really annoying for Adora and Godspeed and IDK to deal with as they're maneuvering around the map. But 1 EMP down here, and they're just going to get demolished. They're kind of playing this.
Look at that, the Bionade onto Lip. Has to force out the Immortality Fury from Izayaki. Hangzhou are looking for openings here, but Stan 1 ends up getting the better of Adora, and you lose your Echo, you've lost a lot of damage. Suddenly this composition doesn't have that much to work with, and Guangzhou getting frozen up. He popped the Primal Rage in the nick of time, but he's already getting chunked down, frozen up. The Supercharger comes down as well. The shield a little bit misplaced here, but it's enough damage at least to try and take care of a couple of these members. But I gotta say, the way that team fight ended up playing out, especially with that res on the Guangzhou, I think Hangzhou Spark have the advantage here.
Oh, absolutely. And if they can finish off a kill there onto Li Jigon or Fleta, they'll be fantastic. But it's a nice defensive Mei wall from Fleta. Oh, Li Jigon, he does get caught in the end.
Godspeed.
With his sound barrier up as well, so that allows for a free EMP here to be able to take point A if Godspeed can get into position.
Yep, Stan 1's kind of in no man's land right now, as you can see him. He gets the halt off on the Godspeed, pulls him forward, and forces Godspeed back. That could be a critical play by Stan 1. Suddenly, Godspeed's not in position to EMP aggressively, and Li Jigon's back in the fight. See, Godspeed's trying to spot him out, but Godspeed once again, and look at his Splinter's been hunting for the Transcendence. He hits the Icicle! This is absurd teamwork that we're witnessing right now from Shanghai. IDK, though, with the instant res, is going to bring him back, because they know they need Godspeed to try and win this fight now with the EMP. It's the only thing they've got.
they've just allowed a Mei to run into their backlines and harass a Translocator. Okay, EMP comes through though,
That's
catches
a
Void.
great EMP.
Also caught Lee Jae Gon, which is huge. I don't think an EMP from Godspeed has caught Lee Jae Gon this entire match so far, but they counter it. The positioning is really good for the Shanghai Dragons, and they're going to stay alive. Sound Barrier pop now as well. And that's not going to be a great flux, but it neutralizes the Sound Barrier at least.
Well, Adora just duplicated over to the Sigma, I think, just because of the higher HP pool, and he built up the Gravitic Flux. You got to use it. As you said, neutralizes some of it. You might as well use it or lose it, essentially. But Guangzhou, he doesn't want to give up just yet. They want to try and push this one forward, but he's being frozen up into the close quarters. This self-destruct has to be huge. Void will go down. Rhea trying to set it up for his team. Adora laying down the sticky bombs from on high. He's not finding anything. Chunks down, Fleta down to half HP, but Shanghai Dragons have stabilized. They still have positioning here.
Yeah, all the positioning in the world, and baby
okay.
manages to find a pick on Lee Jae Gon while he's walking around in glass. That's a very strange situation, but that's what happens with Lee Jae Gon sometimes. He has huge plays, but takes a couple of risks as well. And a nano boosted Guangzhou in the backlines is not what the Shanghai Dragons want to see. Izzyaki with another perfectly timed immortality field to keep everybody alive at the back though.
Yeah, and it pushes him back and it wastes the nano boost. You can see Lip just firing off into these angles, seeing if he can find a pickup or two. Shanghai, stand one hacked up, no shields for him. Bit of free push now for the Hangzhou Spark. Overtime, great EMP connects onto 6 targets. Hangzhou Spark, this is the opening they were looking for, but they have to capitalize. They have to convert it into something, but the EMP fades. Fleta, he uses the ice block, he stalled it up, the ice wall, the EMP, not quite getting enough, and now it's actually been turned. Shanghai are turning it. They're able to find a couple of picks now. Hangzhou desperately searching for anything whatsoever. Guangzhou using his Primal Rage to just batter Lip into a corner. But Lip's still alive. Now Adora using his duplicate onto the D.Va. A little bit more HP in Hangzhou.
They nearly C9.
Finally, please, please, please tell me they capture this point up, because it is stressing me out, and I'm not even a Hangzhou Spark fan. I've got to tell you, Josh. They are only inches away from capping up this first objective time. It has been so hard fought. Shanghai, I do not want to give it up easily, but finally, as one final player remains, it's just Fleta alive onto the point. They cap it up. Whew. That was too close for comfort.
Way too close. The fact that Godspeed gets a 6-man EMP and they don't really capitalize anything off the back of it, the focus fire just all over the place for Hangzhou. But they're not playing with the Brig. They're playing with the Mercy this time because Brig is unavailable. They're not playing with the Zen because that would be way too vulnerable. But here comes another EMP. 4-man this time, but a great Bionade onto Lip and Void, and Lee Jae Gon down immediately. Great focus fire this time from the Hangzhou Spark.
And how's Lee Jae Gon getting caught by the EMP once more? Playing aggressively, these aggressive angles that we've been talking about. High risk, high reward playstyle from him. So Hangzhou Spark going to continue to roll this card a little bit further forward. I gotta say, a lot of this being set up as well by Guangzhou's Primal Rages. He's been building them up in a very rapid fashion. I'd be curious to find out what his ultimate charge rate is as well. He's been finding value with Winston against a composition that realistically probably shouldn't be able to find value as a Winston. Playing against Holt, playing against Torbjorn, who's just battering you with molten lead. It's difficult.
It certainly is difficult, but Guangzhou, one of the best Winstons that we have in the league, is up to the task, at least at the moment. Adora with another ultimate here. They do have another nano boost to build up Guangzhou's Primal Rage very quickly. Godspeed almost gets a hack on Fleta, but Fleta destroys him!
Oh my goodness, that was filthy! Adora answers back though. He takes out Fleta after that performance.
But the res, though, is so good for Hangzhou Spark, because as soon as they push people away, they can instantly reboot after being 5v6, and Adora comes in, finally making his presence felt in the match.
Yeah, IDK almost a silent carry in a lot of these team fights, going for the instantaneous resurrects. Very reminiscent of how Neptuno plays, actually, in a lot of ways, when he plays Mercy himself, and Hangzhou Spark off the back of this. High risk, high reward. See you later, stand one. He realizes he's going to get separated, has to jump into the Gibraltar Strait that we found out earlier.
Sure. Yep. Do you reckon that's the Mediterranean or the Pacific? I think it actually has to be. Sorry, the Pacific. What am I talking about?
What are you talking about? It's the Mediterranean
yes,
Sea.
I think it has to be, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this did look disastrous for the Hangzhou Spark. They were almost being full held on point A, but now they've got ults to be able to capture here. They've done very well. It's not going to be a similar time bank, but that's a nice EMP onto Lip and Stan 1. They can finish off the kills, but Stan 1, how is he staying alive?
He was bionated into the corner, but they couldn't take him out. That was the peel, I think, from Void with the defense matrix. Now you can see Adora moving over, duplicated over to the Winston using that Primal Rage. It's not quite as clean as Gushue, but at the end of the day, you don't need it to be clean. You just need a singular kill. That's what he gets onto Iziaki. Takes him out using that focusing beam now, seeing if he can cleave down onto the targets.
But that's both of Hangzhou's big offensive ultimates used for not really that much. They just got around the corner. And Lip on Sombra is getting close to his EMP. They sound very aggressively here, just trying to take down Bebe. And a nano bursted Mercy. Oh no. We don't like to see those.
Whip out the pistol. You got to make the most out of it. Valkyrie's going to be popped now, trying to work his magic in the backline. Stan 1 is harassing the supports. No one there. Look at that instant.
Great hack.
Ooh, the EMP gets, or not the EMP, the hack I should say, denied. Or not the hack, the resurrect. My goodness, my brain is jumbled. A lot of abilities, a lot of colors on the screen. You know how it goes, but Shanghai Dragons holding strong on the defense. And now Hangzhou with only 20 seconds remaining are making some last-minute desperation swaps.
And Lip has already had more impact on Sombra, honestly, than the Hangzhou Spark have this entire time, because his team is playing around him so well, giving him the space that he needs to be able to push in there and get these clutch targets hacked. Dora moves over onto the Tracer as well.
Fleta doesn't connect onto anything. The EMP, though, Fleta's in trouble. He needs to peel from his team. Gushue, what is that? Just a monkey coming barreling out of nowhere. His Primal Rage capabilities are insane. There's a reason why he's known as the Lonely Snow. The Primal Blade from Gushue getting 2 kills now. May have just given the Hangzhou Spark a lifeline, but they have to capitalize off the back of this one. Shanghai Dragons are battering people away. Stan 1 with a Primal Rage of his own just about fades, but he may have just bought enough time as there's only a few members of the Hangzhou Spark remaining. Desperately trying to push this one, and they have to go sicko mode. They have to clutch it up, but they're not going to be able to. The Shanghai Dragons hold strong. They're going to be able to stop them from pushing it in all the way, taking map number 2.
Well, the Hangzhou Spark, I like the plan that they came out with, running Adora on the Echo. I think that gave them more opportunities in the fight rather than just trying to take the direct Sombra Trace duel, which they didn't have that much success with.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think they lost it on their defense, because the offense, once they got past point A, was not that bad. They managed to get through point B fairly successfully, transitioned it forwards. They even had opportunities to win there on point C, with Gushue just going beast mode with his Primal Rage. But Shanghai Dragons are just too good. This team is too coordinated. They all think on the same level. When they push together, they open up massive amounts of space for their DPS players to be able to work with. And they capitalize every single time. And that was a closer map, for sure, than map 1. But Shanghai is still so in control here.
Yep, they certainly are. It's interesting to see these top teams, especially Shanghai, sort of almost battering back after the game the other night against the Seoul Dynasty. Of course, Seoul, nothing to take away from them. They played very well, but it's interesting to see Shanghai Dragons with a bit of fire in their eyes. When we know that they're already a capable team, they're going to be even more motivated to take this series away. But we're going to be discussing that and more after the break, so don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League, and welcome back to our game break presented by, who is it, Josh? Remind me real quick.
Cheesy Grooves.
What, is it Cheesy Grooves? It is Cheesy Grooves.
Yeah,
well
it's
done.
Cheesy Grooves.
Yeah, good job. Anyway, this has been, so far, quite a one-sided match that we've just seen, and I just want to thank everybody at home who's watching this one as well. I asked for your quarantine outfits, your quarantine fits, if you will, and you delivered. I have received numerous messages, tweets, and it is all people from the UK in dressing gowns with a cup of tea watching some morning Overwatch. And
that's pretty good.
It reminds me, Josh, of when Apex is going on, OGN Apex, and it would be, I remember, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'd wake up in my dressing gown, cup of tea, go into the living room, and watch some Apex. And it's very reminiscent. Nostalgic.
There's no better way to start the day than witnessing some cool Overwatch. And it's
genuinely,
better,
yes. Yeah.
It's better for them in the UK where they just wake up at a reasonable time in the morning. I mean, it's 1:41 for me, and we're going to be going late into the night. Yeah. So I would rather be waking up with a nice cup of tea and a robe.
I mean, you can still cast with a robe on and a cup of tea if you want.
I certainly could, yeah. I would show you the mug that I've got, but it's not suitable for stream, unfortunately. So I can't show you that cup of tea that I've got in front of me.
I don't know if that's because of sponsors or if it's just not PG-13.
It's just not a PG-13 mug, Brandon. All right. I, however, though, have got something that I want to discuss, and it's centered around Lip, because I think that Lip is one of our leading candidates for Rookie of the Year so far. So I've got a crunch time presented by Cheesy Grooves, where I want to go through his play towards the end of this map, where he was on the Sombra, because he swapped over onto the Sombra kind of a little later on, and he was able to build up his EMP very quickly in this final fight. And they only took one fight for Lip to be able to build up the EMP. Then they sound barriered aggressively, and he runs in, gets a huge EMP to be able to take out the Hangzhou Spark. He gets a 3-man EMP, but crucially, it's on 3 really important targets as well. He gets both of the tanks, and then he also gets a Dora in it as well. And then he comes in and denies the res with another hack. This guy is playing at another level in terms of being able to play just every hero that the Shanghai Dragons want him to play on, and being able to play them all at an elite level. I really do think that this is a leading candidate right now for the Rookie of the Year. He's just so strong on anything that Shanghai want to put him on.
Yeah, he's also a character. I say a character. He's a guy, a person, if you will, an entity in the world that we haven't really talked about that much. He almost falls into the radar in a lot of scenarios, and that's kind of strange for a DPS player, but when you think of the star talent on Shanghai, I think just by default, we often refer back to Fletter, we often refer back to, is it Yaki, for example? These players spring into your mind, but Lip making a name for himself. Good spot, Josh. I can only assume that there was a clip associated with that as well. Did you do some drawing?
Yes, I mean, I did a little bit of drawing, Brent. Okay. Not enough to blow your mind. It wasn't a particularly, complex play. I just wanted to highlight how good Lip has been playing recently, because we've seen him, honestly, on everything. Like, his hit scan has been fantastic. He played a little bit of Torbjorn so far this map as well. He's been really, really stand out on the Sombra whenever he's been able to play that. And he's paired alongside Fletter to be phenomenal. When you think about how the Shanghai Dragons were able to win Stage 3 last year, they used a totally different lineup. So just the confidence in Fletter and Lip to be able to field them every game, game after game, and come out with the wins is spectacular. Yeah, it's
Shanghai Dragons. The thing that I love about them as well is it's a team they've got all the pieces, and there's a lot of teams with the pieces, but they don't quite utilize them. And you often look at the team on paper and you think this is a top team. They often don't really live up to that kind of metric that we kind of apply.
Yeah.
But Shanghai Dragons, they do, and they do it quite well, and that's a big part of that being Coach Moon. I remember when we sat down and spoke to him when he was coaching Valiant, I should say, and he reminded me of. I don't want to say arrogant, but he reminded me of someone who just was very confident in what he was saying.
Sure, yeah. It was almost like he couldn't even imagine defeat. Like it hadn't even crossed his mind. Yeah. Having said that, when he was with the Valiant, it really didn't go very well. But this is a new start for the Shanghai Dragons coaching staff, and I think that they've proven so far this year that they've got a great grasp of how to use their talents. Sometimes a coach for one team is just a great coach but a bad fit. And I think that Moon and the rest of the staff on the Shanghai Dragons have showcased that they've really got the full potential out of the great pieces that are on this roster.
Well, that is going to do it for our game break. When we come back, we're going to have the rest of the series between the Shanghai Dragons and Hangzhou Spark. Do not go anywhere. Potentially one more map, maybe more, coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Groups. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League. We are heading into potentially the final map of this series. As you can see, I haven't been fired yet from Blizzard, but you know, maybe there's still
only a matter of time. Really,
it
isn't
is
it?
only
It's
a matter of
only
time.
a matter of time.
As they say, eventually, if you think about it, the longer anything happens, eventually all outcomes will happen, right? Is that not how?
What?
There's like it's like a weird chaos theory. I don't know.
All outcomes
Anything that
will
can
happen.
will happen. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, I think you've just blended many different theories of physics together in your head there, and just come up with your own little theory.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can come up with some hypothesis and try and disprove
I feel like I was born in the wrong era. You know, I feel like I would have.
Yep.
I would have.
You always do actually strike me as a medieval kind of man.
I feel like I could have done philosophy in the ancient Greek days. You know.
Right. Yeah, back when we didn't know that much.
Yeah. I could have been at the forefront of something. But instead, here I am with my cable in front of me like an unprofessional moron. Anyway, we are heading into the series shortly, the Shanghai Dragons versus the Hangzhou Spark. If you're just joining us, well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. And it's been quite a one-sided affair thus far. The Shanghai Dragons leading 2-0.
Yeah.
They are desperate for that qualification point.
Yes, absolutely. The Shanghai Dragons really need this. It's the kind of win that you're expected to get and you should get in dominant fashion. King's Row is interesting. That's the next map that we're going to be going into. And normally, I would say that this favors just complete double shield mirroring. And that's the way that it should be. That's how it's always been.
Sure.
And that is what will come to pass. But Hangzhou have been playing pretty much only dive so far. And we saw New York trying Genji Doomfist on this map, on point A. Not to great success, I must say, but it does show that the meta is not as closed off, perhaps, as we might have thought.
Yeah.
Even on a map that seems to favor very heavy double shield like King's Row, there's still a variety of different things being played. So I'm interested to see what they bring to the table. Hangzhou Spark really haven't tried double shield at all so far in this series, and that would be quite difficult on Gibraltar, but certainly could have run it on Nepal and opted not to, so I'm not sure whether they're just a bit scared to run it into Shanghai, but it does seem to be one of Shanghai's weaker compositions, if you can even call any of their compositions weak.
Well, Shanghai Dragons on the attacking side. I would like to see this composition. I think they might just be searching for a pickoff, but okay, well, yeah. Not going to be opting for it. I'm a huge fan of double sniper compositions, but we only really see it on Junkertown these days. Shanghai just going to be hunting for an opportunity now. The recon arrow is really good at scouting out somebody's corner, seeing if they can get a pickoff or two. Hangzhou opting to kind of mirror them. In fact, yeah, mirror them exactly. They're going to be running the same composition. So we'll see how they stand up, and wow, that's a great pickoff. Flutter going down immediately means that Hangzhou have been bought some time, and they are in a good position to win any team fight. Even if Shanghai want to press this forward, don't know why they would. They're just going to wait and choke for Flutter to respawn, but that is also brilliant.
These are huge, and this composition brings something to the table that Hangzhou have not had in the previous two maps at all. Godspeed on a really powerful carry hero. He is destroying right now. I think he got most of the damage on Fleder when Fleder originally died, and then he picks off Li Jigon and then picks off Izayaki. This guy is single-handedly holding back the Shanghai Dragons.
Godspeed, some people make the comment, you know, they say he's too good for that team, but me, you know, I say this is a team game, not an individual game, but
I think he's one of the hardest carry players that we have in the league, actually. And he's very underrated as well. People don't pay that much attention to him, but this guy slaps.
He does slap. He does indeed. Void trying to take the off angles. Nice Ice Wall blocks the accretion. And now Shanghai going to be taking a bit of a loop-de-loop approach as they work their way around onto the high ground once more. Just trying to basically ice wall them off. You can see them caught in the top right there. Caught against the wall. There's two battles going on at once now. The Dragon Strike is going to be splitting them off here as Godspeed just trying to buy time for his team to get in position and win these individual 1v1s that are occurring. Flutter's somewhere in the back line, and he finally drops down onto the point, but Bebe falling is not a good sign right now for the Hangzhou Spark. He'll be missing the Discord Orb. Dora's able to even it out. Lip hunting for an opportunity on the flank.
Oh, that's great.
That is a wonderful headshot. The Dragon Strike going to be sent straight down the middle, splitting the point into two here.
Lip's flank has been fantastic to be able to pick up Bebe and then come back in and find the Orisa as well. But Shanghai have taken so long to be able to do this that Hangzhou are still getting up to their ultimate. If Rio's Flux can get something done, if they can finish off Void or Li Jigon, they might be in a position to recontest.
Lip,
not quite.
Uses the Storm Arrows to take out IDK. Move from the fight, and now they've gained positioning. The Ice Wall from Hangzhou, I believe it was just used to try and soak up some of the damage, but they are not in a position to recontest this one. Shanghai Dragons going to be capping it up in a pretty quick fashion. They have 4 minutes in their time bank now to work with. The Hangzhou Spark, well, in terms of ultimates, not too great actually either. Shanghai Dragons have the advantage when it comes to that.
I got to give credit to both of the Hanzos there. Godspeed held them off for so long, but Lip's flank was really what broke it for the Shanghai Dragons. Got in behind to where the Zenyatta loves to position on the high ground. Storm arrowed down Bebe, and then picks off the Orisa. That's huge. That just opens everything up. And now it's going to come down to ultimate exchanges here in the streets.
Yeah, Supercharger by Stand 1 utilized. It's just going to break forward. It's the spearhead of this attack, if you will. Bebe's going to fall onto the flank here. Hangzhou realized that they have nothing more to do than just try and fall on the point.
That's so rough though, because yeah, the Supercharger is a great ultimate. It's probably your second biggest ultimate outside of the Blizzard, arguably your biggest ultimate.
Sure.
But to lose a team fight and all of this momentum just based off the back of one ult, you didn't force anything else out of Shanghai. Shanghai now have a large ult advantage even coming into this fight, which is pivotal. Hangzhou have to win this fight if they want a decent defense.
I mean, the bad news about losing that team fight to just the Supercharger as well is it helps the rest of your team build up their ultimates just that much quicker as well. Shanghai are utilizing it, so you can see the amplification matrix is used. Now we see the Gravitic Flux being used. Bebe has to use the Transcendence to heal his team up. Dragon Strike splitting them up straight down the middle. And Gushwei was just wandering, however you want to call it, just straight into it. Gets taken out. Lip with the consistent damage from afar alongside Izayaki. Izayaki picking up 3 kills at the end of that engagement.
Great work from Shanghai, throwing in ultimates there, you know, utilizing the Gravitic Flux and the Blizzard at the same time so that the Transcendence from Bebe can't cancel out both of them. Avoids the damage from the Gravitic Flux, but then they all get frozen up and get caught in Lip's Dragon Strike. I love that ult investment from Shanghai because they keep this momentum going. Now the advantage is in favor of Hangzhou Spark. They've got some good ults to work with here, particularly that Blizzard and Flux. They've only got one chance to be able to counter it, but the time bank is still so large here for Shanghai. They won't even be mad if they lose this fight.
Ria's going for some odd flanking maneuvers there. The accretion is going to be missing onto Void.
They're playing so spread out. Look at this, bro. The Shanghai Dragons are incredibly split because they know that a Blizzard and a Flux are available for Hangzhou, and you just cannot catch them if they play split out like this.
But look, oh my goodness, Hangzhou Spark, they don't want to use their ults because they're playing so split, but Izayaki is demolishing on the flank. They've worked it around. Shanghai Dragons are just rolling it forwards. Hangzhou forced to use the ultimates in a suboptimal fashion, and they're paying the price. The ice wall is going to be pushing them back. Izayaki is an absolute monster. He's trying to go for these shots, mate, but you're no Jonak at the end of the day. Bebe's going to be taking him out, and that may have given the Hangzhou Spark a bit of an in now. As long as they can clean up a couple of these players, Godsby is trying his wee little heart out, but not quite enough as the Hangzhou Spark are not going to be able to capitalize. And Shanghai with 2 minutes 26 seconds in their time bank.
The Shanghai Dragons' positioning there on attack was a masterclass in how to turn a situation from being an ult advantage for the defenders into being a very uncomfortable situation for them. Because they feel like they want to wait until Shanghai group up on the payload in order to use the Blizzard or the Flux. But Shanghai are playing only their Orisa on the card, the Mei and the Sigma off on another angle, and then they've got their Hanzo and their Zen just peppering from a different off angle, and it's impossible for Hangzhou to figure out what to do. They should have grouped up and just used their Flux or their Blizzard on one of those small groups of Shanghai and not worried about getting huge ultimates off, just trying to get a single pick. But Shanghai are thinking on another level there. I mean, that's... if you're playing ranked games at a high level and you're looking for how to coordinate with your team against ultimates, how to make a fight winnable when you have a large ultimate disadvantage, Shanghai Dragons have just written the blueprint on it. That positioning was sublime from them. They know exactly what the win conditions are for their opponents, and they outplay them repeatedly.
That's just fundamentals that have been drilled into them as well, though. It's one of the cornerstones that you need in any top team, is the ability to assess those situations and figure out the best way of fighting it out. That's why I'm so amazed every time we do watch Shanghai Dragons play. Been a fan of them since Season 1, no stranger.
Since Season 1.
And
oh, Bren, that's so sad that that's true.
yeah, well, on the defense now, Hangzhou opting for some changes. So Godspeed moves away from the McCree over to the Tracer. Door onto the Echo. Yeah, going to be going for a dive.
And this is the same composition that they used on Gibraltar. It's a little difficult, but Shanghai do have some vulnerable targets. Lip and Izayaki, but they're going to be playing inside these rooms, and it's hard for Hangzhou to really be able to get people into position. They can't really... the Echo can't flank behind. That's Godspeed's job. So, I don't know. I don't think that this makes theoretically that much sense until you have like a nano-boosted Winston in your face. So Bebe's the win condition here, in my opinion. Godspeed's just going to take too long to build that EMP.
Bebe's getting close to his nano. He's got it, pretty much. 96%, there you go, 100. Gushwen most likely going to be the recipient of it. As they hunt for a target. Likely target, probably going to be Lip, I'd say. It's going to be one of the easiest dive targets.
Yeah.
Dora's still spamming in the sticky shots, and as you can see, Gushwe went for
it's
a
just
play.
getting melted. Absolutely melted. I don't think this variety of dive makes any sense on King's Row, because the way that the Shanghai Dragons are setting up, they have their supports in a very defensible corridor, and the only way to break it is by sending somebody on a flank behind to pressure the window at the back. There's like a little window that you can enter around the back. That's how Lip broke it on their attack. But nobody can do that. Adora's not going to do that. He's tethered to the Mercy, and he doesn't have burst damage.
Lip falls, which could be workable. As you can see, Adora's working on the flank right now. Oh my goodness, the focusing beam! It almost chunked down stand one, but Izayaki or not Izayaki, Li Gong, I should say, on the Batiste was perfect with that immortality field, and now you can see them rolling it forward even further as the Hangzhou Spark positioning has been flipped just right around.
He is up, but Godspeed dies. Shanghai is so good at being able to hold on. Even though Lip dies, he can just come back on Tracer. And main Tracer's a very viable composition, and it gets him back in the fight so quickly.
Wow.
Izayaki's Transcendence there was clutch, but Hangzhou, they need to win the next fight. There is no debate about this. They must win the next fight with a Primal, with the Duplicate, and with the EMP. If this next fight isn't a win, then Shanghai have just full held, for sure.
Gotta make it work. Dora has a duplicate. Duplicate.
Who do you duplicate here? Like maybe Void?
Void, I think. Yeah, you try and get the Sigma. Maybe Lip in a weird way. Or the Tracer, but I mean,
I don't think you can get the Tracer in position to get that much value out of her, though. Same with the Mei. I mean, maybe Orisa and try and get value out of the Supercharger, but I don't think that would work either.
Guangzhou frozen up, forced to use the Primal Rage just to try and survive. Create
EMP
space. EMP into the backline.
one.
That connects onto Izayaki. That was the target. Okay. Could be valuable. Depends how the Hangzhou Spark play around it now, because you can see Guangzhou is trapped in the close quarters, but his team are playing off of it. The revive comes out from IDK. I mean, he's just going for these instantaneously. And that is going to be rolling over the Shanghai Dragons. That was Hangzhou Spark spotting an opening and taking it.
Yeah, the EMP is such a large investment to be able to kill a Zenyatta without Transcendence that's on his own. But hell, a pick's a pick. That's, you know, that's what opens things up there. And the rest of the Hangzhou Spark got into position. And Adora clones stand 1 for that extra shield whilst they were on the high ground that stops the rest of his tanks getting melted. Triple tank, it's back, baby. And Echo's facilitating it.
Yeah, don't
spread that
Don't
one
let the
too far.
Overwatch League know. They might end up banning Echo permanently. We'll see.
Okay, Hangzhou though, they can't wait for another EMP. They can't wait for another huge ultimate advantage to be able to win. They need to be able to win these fights and continue the momentum.
Another Nanobus using the Guangzhou to try and create some space here. Big Bionade onto Fleta and a sleep, and the Blizzard coming out of
Huge
Fleta.
Bionade.
They force out a lot out of the Shanghai Dragons to try and defend this one. But the Shanghai Dragons ultimately looking like they're holding on. IDK again with another resurrect into the backline. Guangzhou
Oh,
will be
poor
coming
Bebe.
up. But
Bebe's just getting run down.
Yep, they just run straight into the backline. They're like, okay, if your entire team is behind
How
this,
is
we're just
Bebe
going to run
alive?
forwards. I don't know how Bebe survives, but the Bionade is massive. Connecting onto 2 targets, and he set up Hangzhou perfectly. They wrap and collapse and pincer them. And Shanghai Dragons, they thought they were being clever. They thought they were being cerebral. Wasn't enough though, was it? Because the Hangzhou Spark, they came swinging, they came knocking like a bunch of debt collectors. They were hunting.
IDK got a res on Guangzhou and then comes in and saves Bebe, but Bebe broke the Shanghai Dragon's ankles.
Yeah.
He was zipping and zapping through the bookstore, and Shanghai had no idea where he was
And
going.
he got the 2-man Bionade.
Yeah, Baby and IDK just clutched that fight, and I don't know how it happened. Like, how do you lose track of an Ana that you're hunting down? He gave him the zig and zag through the bookstore.
Bookstore. Well, Guangzhou has another Primal Rage, to no one's surprise. And now he's going straight in, but I think he expects the Nano Boost, maybe? Well, his team's there to back him up regardless. The Coalescence is going to be used by Izayaki to try and get a pick, keep the team alive, using that extra heals. Sticky Bomb's doing a decent amount of damage. Nano Boost comes down. Guangzhou is using that bubble to try and break up some of the line of sight from the shields. Or from the heals, I should say. Primal Rage isn't getting too much value. Battering a couple of the players around. Lip forced to use his recall. Shanghai Dragons look like they're in a very solid position to win this one out, despite the fact that Bebe got a nice little Bionade there. IDK goes for another ballsy res, but Shanghai Dragons in the kill feed.
Incredibly solid position there for the Shanghai Dragons. EMP was what they used to open the fight up, but Izayaki was not caught in it, and he was able to coalesce, and the entirety of Shanghai just backed off with all of that healing, and the EMP was utterly wasted. Adora copied a Mei, which got nothing done. Guangzhou's Primal got completely baited out as well, and the supports just ran rings around him. Just a perfect kiting of ultimates there from Shanghai to set them up for the win on King's Row.
There you go, just like that. And Shanghai Dragons going to be taking it in a 3-0 fashion. I think they can be quite pleased with that one, especially off of their loss the other day. It means now for the May standings, they're going to be a 1-1. Still a lot of matches to be played as well next week, of course, that are going to be affecting the seeding of the May tournament in terms of where teams place. The opportunity is still there to get the #1 seed in the Asian tournament side.
Yep.
for Shanghai, so it's not lost. Same for Hangzhou Spark, as they're currently 1-1 right now, currently. But that was just a dominating performance from Shanghai.
It was, and I think that you can see that the Shanghai Dragons are not slumping. That isn't the reason even slightly that they lost yesterday to the Seoul Dynasty. It was Seoul Dynasty stepping up to their level. Shanghai put on a masterclass today. The way that they played around ults was sublime. And Lip, this guy, again and again, just performs at an enormously high level.
Yeah, Lip being our player of the match, I can appreciate this one. I feel like you could have given it to a variety of people on Shanghai, but it's most evident that Lip has so much impact when he plays the game for Shanghai. He's the one who's facilitating a lot of these plays. And Fletter, despite the fact that he's got this reputation around him of being, this person who deadlifts, his team, he's now in a system where he doesn't need to do that. So he can honestly just be enabled by the great team play, the Shanghai Dragons. You're just seeing it come to life before our very eyes. Wonderful play all around.
I think
play
Lip, as a rookie coming in, has become the power player for the Shanghai Dragons. And Fletter is more of the flexible guy alongside him that can play any hero and is the second hitter, but can still punch at a very powerful kind of level. So Flair and Lip alongside each other just cover every DPS combination you could possibly imagine, and at a really, really high level. I want to also throw out a shout out to Lee Jae Gon throughout this match, because playing against the Sombra is difficult. And the way in which the Shanghai Dragons completely shut down Godspeed whenever he was going for these Sombra plays, I think a lot of that came down to Lee Jae Gon. He's a guy that makes a lot of risky plays, for sure. He goes out there and sometimes just gets picked right immediately at the front of the fight. But as soon as he tones that down, he's a sublime player. He really is incredibly talented, and his raw mechanical skill is paired alongside impeccable game sense for playing against situations like the Sombra, situations that he's been in many times before at a tier 2 level.
Yeah, Lee Jae Gon, possibly, could have got the player of the match in a different universe if Josh was feeling benevolent enough, but alas, was not to be today. Was not to be. But if you're just joining us, we do have even more Overwatch to be played. After the break, we're going to be going up with our final series of the Asian matches. It is going to be London versus Guangzhou. Do not go anywhere. That's going to be coming up after the break.